Hi, it's Paul from Wickedacorn. We're in Marbury Park, the site of Marbury Hall. Not much left to see of Marbury Hall these days. We'll learn more about that as we go, but we're here to see some bluebells. Yes, the bluebells are out in full force here today. If we're lucky, they could last well into May. You've still got time, but don't wait too long. We're in Marbury Country Park in Cheshire. It lies in the heart of Northwich Community Woodlands, an integral part of the Mersey Forest. But before we get to the bluebells, let's find out a little bit about the park. Marbury was a grand estate. The last Marbury Hall, built in the 1850s, was a fine-looking house modeled on the French chateau at Fontainebleau, with an imposing carriage drive entrance. There have been several Marbury houses on this site, dating back to the 13th century. The hall has an incredible history and passed through several generations of Marburys. But of interest to this channel is James Barry's time here, around 1714. Barry was a member of the Cheshire Club. He was one of the 10 men who narrowly decided to not join the Jacobite Thomas Forster. Lucky for him, Forster was defeated by government forces at Preston in 1715. In the 1740s, James Barry was a leading Jacobite involved with courting French backing for a possible rebellion. Barrymore's treasonable actions were disclosed after their defeat in 1745, but for some reason, the government took no action against him. He probably didn't take part in any of the clandestine meetings at Jackson's boat, but we'll have to wait and see when we get to that video. The house remained with the Smith-Barry family until it was sold in 1932 to become a country club. Okay, this is unusual. What's this? I wouldn't want to stumble across this in the dark. It's the Egyptian Lady, it says, by Sandra Christie. There seems to be a sculpture trail here. That would be really scary to come across at night. During the Second World War, the estate was used as a military camp and for prisoners of war. After the war, the hall served as a hostel for ICI employees, and some of the POW huts were used as accommodations for the Polish workforce. By 1968, the hall had fallen into disrepair and had to be demolished. So in the 1960s, the hall was torn down. It's unfortunate because just a couple of months later, there was measures put in, some kind of legislation. I guess, the listing of buildings that we talk about today came into being, and the hall would have been saved had it lasted another couple of months. But I don't know what to think of these restrictions they put on renovating and restoring these old historic listed buildings. It should be that way, but it's unfortunate. It's very cost prohibitive. People can't afford to do a renovation or a restoration like that. They're not normal people anyway. Somebody that wants to turn an old listed barn into a house, and they have to use period materials and proper restoration techniques. It's just impossible to do. But it's sad because the building just ends up falling into decay and falling into the ground, doesn't it? And a improperly restored building is better than no building. At least I figure it is. You could easily make a full-day adventure in this area. The Anderton Boat lift is less than a mile away, and the Lion Saltworks is only about 2 miles from the park. The Anderton Boat lift provides a 50-foot vertical link between two navigable waterways, the River Weaver and the Trent and Mersey Canal. It's another crafty Victorian structure. It's since been designated as a scheduled monument. It's known as one of the 7 wonders of the waterways. Built in 1875, the boat lift was in use for over 100 years. It closed in 1983 due to corrosion. Restoration started in 2001 and the boat lift was reopened in 2002. The lift and associated visitor center are operated by the Canal and River Trust. The main reason for its construction was the nearby Lion Saltworks. It's the last remaining open-pan saltworks in Marston. It closed in 1986, and now it's a museum. If you don't know what a saltworks is, you definitely need to visit. It's how and where they made salt. It's the reason I exist. If it wasn't for the Lion Saltworks and the Anderton Boat lift, I wouldn't be. I think I may have a connection to this part of Cheshire. My great, I'm not sure how many greats, but great-grandfather some amount of times. The first one that went to what you know as Canada now, he jumped ship, a salt ship transporting salt. So most likely from Liverpool. And the salt in Liverpool was usually brought from the Lion Saltworks, or some of it was anyway. So the Lion Saltworks is just a short distance from here. And the Anderton Boat lift was involved in that as well, and that's just a short distance from here as well. You can make a day of it traveling around this area. So I probably have a connection to this part of the world. But of course, the main reason we're here today is the stunning display of bluebells. Just head down this way and you can't miss the bluebells. The forest floor is completely covered. In the United Kingdom, bluebells are a protected species. Landowners are prohibited from removing common bluebells for the purposes of sale. It's a criminal offense to remove the bulbs of wild common bluebells. Any trade in wild common bluebell bulbs or seeds is an offense, punishable by fines of up to £5,000 per bulb. This is definitely not a place to go picking wildflowers. I'm neglecting the video. It's far too beautiful to look at through a camera. You want to look at it with your own eyes. It's really beautiful here. And all these bluebells are just stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Probably some more of the original Hall's architecture. All this was their garden here. The arboretum. No sooner are the daffodils gone, they're replaced by these beautiful bluebells. Oh, the video just doesn't do it justice. This just does not translate on video. This place is covered in bluebells. You should get out and check it out. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you want to learn more about wildflowers, check out this book. There will be a link in the description. So these are more like the English bluebells. They've mostly been hybridized with the Spanish bluebell. The ones in our garden are mostly hybrids. And this place is absolutely covered in bluebells. And I'm sure that entire hillside is covered in them. But I don't want to walk through them because they're easily damaged and kind of permanently damaged when you damage them.